What is going on, guys? I am back on the mic today from Spectral Sound, and before I start this tutorial, I just want to give a big thanks to all y'all. We just reached 200 subscribers, which is super cool because I think it's like 2 videos ago was when we reached 100. I meant to do just like a quick thank you for 100 before that video started. I believe it was my mastering tutorial, but I forgot to, and I realized that afterward. I'm like, oh man, but the speed at which we went from 100 subscribers to 200 subscribers was insane, because I'm opening up my email and I just see all these notifications about these people subscribing to me on YouTube, and I'm like, oh man, it's super cool to have this happen as fast as it did. So thank you everyone for that. Alright, now let's get into this video because I know that's what y'all are here for. I got a request a while ago for it was by Gil Hassid, that's how you pronounce it. It was the Daxt and Zotrex Spilled Main Drop Lead. So I mean, I never heard this song before, and I'm sure the majority of y'all haven't either. It's not a very popular song, not by a very popular artist. However, I actually really like the song. It's a really good song. Alright, I'm gonna play this bit of the song here for you. Now there isn't a ton in there that I would actually call a lead. I call them more like screech basis things, but you know, this sort of thing right here. Now, a lot of those like screechy stuff, like that kind of thing, there's like 2 or 3 of those in there. They sound like the same sound, but they're actually different sounds. So I just chose which one I thought was the most relevant, which was this one and this one. Oh no, not that one, this one. So those two, like, those basses right there. So this is my remake I have right here. I also threw in a snare right there just to fill in space. You can tell this right here and this, they sound super similar. And this actually, it's not really that complicated of a sound. It's like, oh, and there's also a sub here, but that's just a sine wave. Again, just to fill in space. That's just what the snare and the sine wave are for. But it's 2 saw waves FMing each other and essentially a comb filter. Now I'm gonna, there is a bit of post-processing on that, but all the post-processing is for is to make it sound more like the original. Now you could take it off and it won't be as loud, like this is without the post-processing. Now, it sounds the same, it's just quieter, really, that's all it does. And this is just, all this is doing is essentially making it louder and just a bit of EQing. I do have a vocoder on there, but that's extremely simple, like this basic stuff, and I don't even have the wet all the way up. I'll get to that later once I do the post-processing, but for right now, we're just going to stick to the Serum patch. So this is Serum, or no, I'm gonna leave that on because otherwise it will be way too quiet. All right, this is the Serum. Like I said, just 2 saw waves FMing each other. There's no sub and there's no noise in this one, so it's a pretty simple one. Turn on oscillator A. You can just ignore the basic shapes too. That's fine. It's just the saw wave tables that come up immediately when you open it up. So the FM is at 61%, and where's, okay, yeah, LFO3. I did some complicated stuff with the LFOs. LFO3 is modulating it up 20. Now you can see this is how we're getting that like kind of thing with a kind of like slides up. It doesn't immediately start on the top of the on the top of the note right there. It has a little down muddy end at the beginning. So that's how that was done. The FM, the key spot is at the very top right there. So that's where I put it, at the very top. And then I brought it down so I could find a nice area, a nice gritty, you know, kind of grimy area for that first beginning of the sound. So the FM is kind of messing up down there, and then it hits the top and it's the clean sound. So this is down 1 octave. The level is modulating 70%, going up 19. This is LFO3. And you know, as I'm taking you through this, keep in mind that there are some weird stuff. I've gone like over the bounds of the actual oscillation there, and there's some weird stuff I did in this. So I'm going to give the preset for free. There's going to be a download link in the description. You can go ahead and click that, but I suggest you stick around to see exactly how I got this. And now I believe that's it for the first oscillator. For the second oscillator, it's also down an octave, and all I have to do is turn the level down. That's it. Like, there's nothing else. There's nothing else to that one. All that's doing is just FMing. And now the thing is, when you FM from a saw wave, you get saw wave harmonics, but you can adjust how, like, this is without the FM. We have those saw wave harmonics down there, but this almost acts like a kind of a sync. We're taking those harmonics, and I don't know exactly how to describe it. A double saw wave, it's like it's taking the saw wave harmonics and doubling them in that way to go up an octave and just add that. It brings it all up in pitch, and it makes it nice and screechy. That was probably a super vague way to describe it, but that's the only way I knew how. I mean, how can we really describe sound? So for the filter, I have a Comb HL6 negative. This was just me scrolling through the combs and flanges and stuff trying to find a good one. But just oscillator A is going through it. Oscillator A is the only one actually outputting sound, so anything else wouldn't really matter. I have the drive down 0%. The cutoff, this is very important. Changing the cutoff by 1 hertz, just 1, will affect the sound in a worse way. But it's at 135 hertz. Let's go down to 130. It's not the same. It's the same basic thing, but it doesn't have quite the harmonic element that the original sound had. So 135 was that key point. That took me a while to locate that, but whatever. The resonance is at 37%. Don't mess with the pan. This is the HLWID. I don't know exactly what that stands for. However, it does duck the high end. It takes all this, see how it's affecting right there, all these peaks and stuff. It dulls it in the high end. So that's what that's doing. On this LFO2, which looks a little something like this, I have it from 27 going all the way up 59. So there's not as much high harmonic, you know, comb filter effector. I don't know what to call it here. There's not as much. The comb filter isn't affecting the high end as much down here as it is up in the middle. And this is also affecting the pitch. That's why I had to stop it in the middle. And I'll get to that once I go into the matrix. And that's also why I have it turned up so high, because at the top of this peak, it's only going to be in the middle. So that's another tricky thing. I had to turn it up double than I actually wanted it, so I could get it where I wanted it to be. Also, it's modulating the mix. The mix is at 50, and this is up 100. However, I did go over the actual peak. As you can see, if I were to do something like this, or no, let me not use that. Let me use something that's not being used at all. Okay, D2. All right. So, Shift Alt click. Now it's unipolar. Now I can move it. You can see I'm moving it right here, and you can see. But once it hits the top, I can keep moving it. You see that percentage going up, and it goes past the actual range that the knob has. See, if I turn it down, it's still all the way there, and only when I go like this does it work. You see what that means right there? You see how that's working? That's how I had to do it with the mix, because this is halfway up, just so I could get the mix to relatively all the way up. Yeah, that's how I could get the mix all the way up on that one. Again, that's something really key. This is why I'm giving out the preset for free. Alright. Yeah, I believe that's it for that section. Let's go through this. I have reverb, flanger, and an EQ. So this is without any of them. Same basic thing. This is just cleaning up the sound, especially this EQ. So this is a passed filter. I'm just going to call it a filter. I know it's not a filter, but I'm using it as a filter. The frequency is at 203. The Q factor is at 38%. So that's just cutting down those muddy, that muddy low end that really wasn't in the lead sound. You don't have that in leads most of the time. The frequency is 1931 going up 66. Again, I went over the actual bounds of this display to get it at the top frequency right there. The Q factor is at 32%, and the gain is at 0. Gain wouldn't matter. Gain's at 0 for both of them, because they're both pass filters. So let's go on to the flanger. All this flanger is doing is just adding some extra screech to the top. That's just, highlighting those frequencies. So the rate is all the way down. The depth is at 78%, and the mix is modulating 35%, going up 50 for LFO3. For LFO3, the feedback is going from 100 all the way down to negative 52. So it is extra screechy and, grimy down in this range, and then it kind of cleans up as the sound goes up. Because if we turn the feedback all the way, it gets really, those frequencies are just boosted up a ton. It just really slams through, and that's what is coming through here, nice and gritty, and then it cleans out at the top. Alright, for the reverb, the reverb really adds to the metallic quality of the sound because I have a plate reverb on. Now when you start with a plate reverb, the width is all the way down, and you get this really mono sounding reverb. You probably can't hear that because I'm modulating the mix with this envelope 1, 0 to 36%. But that's what you get. And the width, you just turn the width up, and then you get a big wide plate reverb sound. Now, like I said, I'm doing this just so when I'm pressing on a note, you get reverb. You can hear the reverb at the end when it's coming down. You can hear it, and that it's a very metallic reverb. It just adds to the thickness of the sound. So the size is just 9%. It's really small because there's like compression and stuff on the post right there. The pre-delay is at 4 milliseconds. I never turn the pre-delay up too high. It's sort of glitch. I don't like it that much. The low cut is at 30%, taking away those low frequencies. The high cut is also at 30%. The damp is at 28, and like I said, the width is all the way up. So I believe that's going to do it for this section. I also have LFO1. Let me go into the matrix here. LFO1 is controlling the master tune. It is up 4, and I just have this down 6. And LFO2 I also selected for an aux source. Now this is a little complicated because this is controlling the vibrato. If you do it here, especially the speed that I have LFO1, I turn it off BPM onto anchor. The mode is on off, and it's 9 hertz. So that's just it's just a kind of slow sort of vibrato. But when you select something for the aux source, also it's bipolar. That's very important. When you select something for the aux source, you're basically saying the higher that low frequency oscillator is here, the more that it's going to output actually like the modulation. So now there's like very little vibrato here, but when it gets to the middle, it has a good amount of vibrato that I have. Even though there's just a little bit, that's just controlling the range, because vibrato doesn't have a ton of range. It's mainly like one semitone max, kind of thing. So that's what that's doing. There's not a lot of vibrato down here, and then the vibrato comes in once you reach the top of this cycle. So, and then you can just go into basic and then click sine wave for this. Alright, so that's the vibrato. What else did I have? LFO2. Filter mix. Master tune. Oh yeah, LFO2 is also controlling the master tune. That's just the slide upward. See, if I turn it down, this is what it sounds like. Da-da. It's a static sound. It's just da-da. There's nothing really moving there. If I turn it up, now it's doing its little slide. Wow. That's kind of what it had in the first song, in the first track, the original track that it had. So, yeah, and I'm recreating the sound, so I do whatever I have to do to get the sound that was in the song. Alright, now was that it? I think that was. There was some complicated stuff here. Alright. Now, like I said, the basics of this sound, just the saw wave FM and the comb filter, is very simple. Now, it's all this other stuff that I did to make it sound more like the original sound, which was complicated, and with the post-processing. I just have some EQ here. You can see the stuff that I'm doing, just ducking down this mid-range and boosting these high frequencies. The vocoder is very simple. Don't mess with anything up here. I didn't do that. I just lowered some of these bands and I put the bands to 32 because it was peaking in this range. This is where the fundamental of the sound was, and it was peaking through the vocoder. It was coming kind of messy. And now this dry wet knob right here is at 84. That's another key spot to get the same sound that's in the actual song. The limiter is I just turned the gain all the way up. That's all that's doing. This is just making it louder. Soft clipper, it's all the way up because it's super quiet without it. I don't even know why. And then even more the preamp. So this is without any of these things to make it louder. That's super quiet, and I realized afterward that it was because I turned the volume down. I don't know why. I guess I had like my actual computer turned up lower or something like that. But anyway, I just used these to turn it up, and I don't know how much. I know the soft clipper does add some distortion, which helps a little bit. Everything else is just turning it up. But I just left it that way anyway because it was simpler. Alright, and then that's all that's doing right there. And I believe that is it. And also the snare. But that's not even sidechaining, like I didn't even need to. That's the sound. I feel like I got pretty dang close on this one. I feel like it worked out pretty well. And it didn't take me too long either. Once I listened to it and figured out that it was saw wave FM, all I need to do is try to recreate the effects that were on it. And that worked out pretty well. Alright, now I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Again, thank you for 200 subs, and thank you for watching. If you liked, subscribe to this channel for more videos weekly. Hit this like button if you like the sound, and request a sound in the comments if you want it. I have my little sound design request. If Word will open, please. There we go. You see my little sound design requests here that I have, and I have them all lined up. And I will be getting to those in future videos. As always, peace out.